Liberty Bank, bank local, bank Liberty. Ruderman Plumbing, your locally owned plumbing superheroes. Gerard Fisher American Family Insurance, all of your protection under one roof. Tom Lane State Farm, your good neighbor agent in the Riverbend. First Mid-America Credit Union, exceeding member expectations since 1934. Roberts Ford, the value store since 1949.
We don't agree, and I'm 100% on him.
You walk onto this campus and it feels as though you're at an Ivy League institution.
It is cultured in so many ways. You would never know that it is a two-year college.
This place is truly amazing. I love going to school here.
It is definitely not like any other community college.
No. The way our
If you're looking for a way for your
is
life
we
to
have the Bill
change,
of Rights,
then Lewis and Clark
which
is the place for you to
constrains
be.
the power of the federal and state government. We don't have
Roper's Regal Beagle, located on Godfrey Road, is the Metro East premier sports bar and grill. Open Sunday through Thursday till 2 a.m. and Fridays and Saturdays till 3 a.m. At Roper's Regal Beagle, you will enjoy. Roper's Regal Beagle, located on Godfrey Road, is the Metro East premier sports bar and grill. Open Sunday through Thursday till 2 a.m. and Fridays and Saturdays till 3 a.m. At Roper's Regal Beagle, you will enjoy some of the area's best pizza from their wood-fired pizza oven. There's also a full kitchen offering a huge variety, as well as a soup and salad bar. Sports fans, Roper's Regal Beagle is the place to watch the game. 27 TVs, NFL ticket, Big Ten, Pac-12, and streaming local high school sports.
And they essentially
At Shell Community Federal Credit Union, you are important. We work hard to ensure you have the best banking experience
which is only
whether you are inquiring about
valid
opening a
if
savings account
each of
or
the
wanting to
states
learn
approves
more
it.
about a loan, our professionals are here to help you with any questions, and we will walk you through every step of the process.
But our House of
Since opening our doors
Representatives,
in
our senators, and
1935, we've never
congresspersons
forgotten
do
that our
not-
members are our most important asset,
do
which is
not
why we
draft
continue to excel.
laws
For
to
all your
give us our
banking needs,
constitutional
Shell is the
rights.
one place to go.
They draft laws.
They draft laws.
There's no limit on the
Sports, food,
laws
and
they
good
can
times.
draft, man.
I
That's what you'll find
understand,
at Alton Sports
but
Center.
don't say that
With our
their
daily specials and the
constitutional rights
best
come
wings
from
around,
Congress, because
no
they
game
don't.
day is complete
I didn't say
without us.
constitutional right come from
Between our
Congress.
main
They come
bar,
from our
enclosed and
documents.
outdoor
The
patios,
Constitution,
you
Bill
won't know
of
where to
Rights,
begin your
everything.
evening.
Well, our rights
Our
actually
Sports
don't
Staff
come
also
from
has
the
a spacious
Declaration.
banquet center offering
Well,
plenty of space
they
to host any event,
established
and the food
facts
to make it great.
about freedom.
Whether you
They
stop by to
establish
catch a game,
principles.
grab dinner, or
They
enjoy our
can
new
be-
live
That are
gaming,
They can
supposed to
have,
be
Sports Staff
followed.
has got
they
you
can
covered.
have, and a certain suggested
RiverBender.com's
value,
live
but
coverage
the
of today's game is
Declaration of
brought to you by
Independence
Roberts
is
Ford,
not
the
a
value store since
constitutional
1949. First Mid-America Credit Union, exceeding members' expectations since 1934.
I'm not saying it should
Gerard
be
Fisher
ignored.
American
Sure,
Family
it should be
Insurance, all of
considered
your
like
protection under
everything
one
else,
roof.
but it is not
Macias
the law. It
Insurance,
is not the
professional
Constitution.
independent insurance
It does not
agents.
bind
Tom
the
Lane State Farm,
authority
your good
of the
neighbor agent in the
courts and our
Riverbend.
government.
Toyota,
But it should
let's
be
go
given
places.
serious
Visit
consideration.
buyatoyota.com.
Many people think
Andy's Auto Body and Car Care, offering friendly service and reliable repairs since 1974.
And anybody who
Liberty
says
Bank,
that is an
committed to
idiot.
providing excellent customer service above all else. Johnson's Corner, located at 2000 State Street in Alton, is the area's best corner bar and eatery. Burko Construction, offering all kinds of construction services from new building projects to renovations. Auto Butler Car Wash and Express Lube, located at 1706 Homer Adams Parkway in Alton. And Roper's Regal Beagle, the Metro East premier sports bar and grill.
RiverBender.com's live coverage of today's game is brought to you by Macias Insurance Agency, your local independent insurance agent. Andy's Auto Body, Tire, and Auto Service and Sales. Auto Butler Car Wash and Express Lube, located at 1706 Homer Adams Parkway in Alton. Auto Centers Nissan, home of the Wiggity Way. Roper's Regal Beagle, the Metro East's premier sports bar and grill. Shell Community Federal Credit Union, the one place to go for all your banking needs. Alton Sports Tap, sports, food, and good times. Liberty Bank, bank local, bank Liberty. Ruderman Plumbing, your locally owned plumbing superheroes. Gerard Fisher American Family Insurance, all of your protection under one roof. Tom Lane State Farm, your good neighbor agent in the Riverbend. First Mid-America Credit Union, exceeding member expectations since 1934. Roberts Ford, the value store since 1949.
Well, sir, after some serious consideration, I'd like to put in my 15-year notice.
You're quitting?
Technically retiring, sir. With a little help from my State Farm agent, I plan to retire in 15 years.
Wow, you're totally blindsiding me here. Who's going to manage your accounts?
Well, I'm going to finish packing my things. 15 years will really sneak up on you.
Jennifer will do your exit interview, and Adam made you a cake.
Red velvet.
Oh, thank you.
I made this. Take charge of your retirement. Talk to State Farm agent Tom Lane to help you plan for your future today.
Slow turning down.
Slow turning down. So,
I'm more concerned.
You're more concerned. So, all right, a little background. So, John and I met a while back.
That's what you said.
So, just, we were going to talk about topics that are hot topics. We'll eventually expand this out and look at your questions and call them. John's friends will be able to do it. But I don't have to.
Whether you're planning for home improvement projects,
So I'm not really sure where we were at that point, but so
let's start over.
So Pastor Danny, why don't you tell us real quick about you again, sir? I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Mind,
Understand.
That'd be great.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being here to share information. And the rally that we had was an informational rally because many of the people did not realize that this mandate included using the facilities of the showers. And although in most documents you don't see the words, the way it's written, it includes showers and it includes bedrooms. So when schools travel, transgender people have access to same bedrooms as the girls have.
So I didn't think about showers earlier. Now I know. Now you
right, it's part of it.
So okay. By the way, thank you for coming on. John and I have wanted to have this conversation for a while, and it's obviously a touchy one because first of all, we don't want to be offensive to anybody. Right. We certainly don't want to project that we're discriminating against anybody because that's not the case. These are just opinions that we have, and we're going to discuss them.
And I don't have a problem with transgender people. The issue is not transgender people. No. The issue is
the law,
the mandate.
So John,
not law, mandate.
The mandate, correct. My apologies. So John, our lawyer friend here. Where are you at?
And I don't disagree with. I have some problems to the extent, and I look for in the communication that the Obama administration sent out on May 13th, and I didn't see any reference to showers. It's not to say that. Yeah, I mean, but if you want to show it to me, I'll be happy to look at it.
It says facilities. I think where we're at with facilities is facilities doesn't say showers, but it doesn't not say showers, which means they could be open to anything.
But and here's where I agree with the pastor. I do think that there's a problem when you're talking about people with different genitalia in an open shower setting. I think that that's probably something that most people would have some difficulty with. But my view on this is that a lot of the efforts that are trying to address this are trying to address problems that don't exist. Had you ever heard of a problem?
Well, I
disagree with you.
They don't exist yet. This is going to open the door for these problems.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to do, and I think that's. I'm assuming that's where your position is. That's where I'm at with it.
As soon as a male gets in school, he can say, without his parents' permission, I feel like I'm a girl to the administration and get immediate access to the bathroom, locker rooms, and shower rooms.
Under this mandate.
Under this mandate. That's the problem. It's not a transgender problem. If you had the right equipment, you should be able to go in the bathroom. Since you don't,
and I agree with that. I'm spot on with you. And first of all, I don't really know that. So I watched a show. I was watching some news today, and I guess this knife attack that happened in England, or London. Did you see that? The guy went, and he's only 19, and they said that I guess at 19 years old, a man's brain isn't fully developed yet to maturity at 19 years old. So if that's the case, if we're going to say this about a guy that goes wielding a knife in England, how could we say that a 15-year-old can understand whether or not they have a different, they have the wrong equipment? I mean, again, it's talking out of both narratives, and that's what I don't like about it. We seem to use it where it's convenient versus using logical common sense that, hey, first of all, for me, and I'll go on the record, I think if you've got that feeling, and you may have that feeling, And I'm not saying that this individual doesn't have this pulling at them, but I look at it from a different point of view. I look at it as it's an evil pulling you towards a sin, and you need to get some help. That's where I'm at with it. I'm not saying they're a bad person.
So you don't think there's structural differences in the brain between a transgender person and
yes,
you're saying that there aren't?
There is, and it's called mental illness.
No, we're talking about structural differences.
Oh, structural.
So, and before today, I was looking up. There was a study that was done in 2014, which tested the brains of transgendered persons, non-transgendered persons, males, females. And they found structural differences that would, in the part of the brain that deals with sexual identity, and would help explain the fact that there is a physical presence in the brain that helps explain the differences between men and women.
Share that with me.
I disagree. I disagree with that.
I'm not big on studies. John, I'll tell you, I'll warn you now, Pastor. John's huge on studies. Okay?
Yeah, because people can believe whatever they want to believe, but what does the data show?
Even a doctor. Look, Mr. Money, Mr. Kinsey, and a Benjamin, this guy, there was 3 of them who were considered the founders of this movement. And all 3 of them had issues. And a doctor can have a misunderstanding just like a lawyer, a priest, a pastor, a fireman. Just because a doctor says that there are structural differences in transgender's brain does not mean that he knows what he's talking about. He can be guessing.
There have to be additional studies.
What's the study?
You can't prove it.
2014, there's a study done in Vienna. I'm looking for a link for you, but
just when you get a chance.
Sure.
I'll get it up on the page for us so people can look at it. We like to share the information because John doesn't, he likes the studies. I'm not big. I just come from what's right and wrong. I mean, and I think that we feed this when we pass these kinds of mandates and we do these laws, we bring these topics up. I think we encourage people. I think the more we talk about ISIS, the more we encourage people to join ISIS. I think, all those things. I think the more we talk about cops killing black people, we encourage more, it just gets the fire rolling. So all of a sudden now everybody's got these issues with their sexual orientation and their body structure, and I just don't see it that way.
Let me address this issue on the studies. Okay. They had a lot of studies on climate change and so forth, and they played with the numbers. So a study does not mean anything by itself. For many years, this issue of transgender was considered a disorder or dysphoria, and they changed the meaning of words to make things more palatable. The issue is not that I have an issue with transgender people receiving their due rights under the Constitution, but they do not have a 14th Amendment right to be in the bathroom with females, and if they have male apparatus.
I agree, and I really, everything I've heard and talked with transgender people don't want nothing to do with this.
Well, because most transgender people are very private.
Yeah.
The transgender people that I know, they don't like public spectacles. And frankly, you have men with male genitalia going into female bathrooms now. And there is no evidence that that's currently posing a problem.
But that's not the point. That's the problem. The problem is when you pass this mandate,
you open it up so any young man who doesn't know, hey fellas, I can go see the girls, man. All I have to do is say it's not a transgender problem. It's the people who are pushing it.
And if you're
that's what the problem is.
If you're a person of studies, and you would know, looking through history, that when you make these crazy laws, and we talked about the First Amendment, freedom of speech. Somebody decided that freedom of speech means burning an American flag. That's not that's an act. That's not speech. That's an act. But a lawyer twisted that. So when you pass this law, and I think that's where I'm at with it. Is I don't have I'm quite sure that I've gone. In fact, I can guarantee you that I've gone to the bathroom with a transgender.
And did you have anybody cause a single problem?
No issue at all.
So why are we trying?
Because I have an issue with if we pass this mandate. To what Pastor's saying is that any young man can say, hey, you know what? Today I feel like I might be a girl, and I'm going to go into the girls' bathroom. Or, hey, I want to play on girls' volleyball.
And if they want to go to the bathroom and use the toilet facilities, they can.
But if my daughter's
because here, let's talk about really what the fear is that somehow a man's going to go into a female bathroom and try to look in, somehow leer over, whatever. all of that is criminal activity. We already have laws involved.
So why are you promoting issues to get young teenage boys in trouble? Let me read what the mandate says here on page 2. The department interprets Title IX to require that when a student or the student's parents or guardian, as appropriate, notifies the school administration, the student will assert a gender identity that differs from his previous representations or records. The school will begin treating the student consistent with the student's gender identity. So he doesn't even need his parents. And why should the federal government be telling us we have to put up with this? It doesn't make sense. It's insane.
Let's take a quick commercial break. You ready to go commercial, Mr. Producer? We'll be right back. We might disagree. It's going to get fun. See you in a few.
Family vacations, college tuition, or consolidating credit card debt, use your home for what you need. At First Mid-America Credit Union, they offer home equity loans and lines of credit that can lower your costs. For more information, visit www.1stmidamerica.org or call 618-258-3168 to speak to a First Mid-America Credit Union representative.
Roku is a small device that connects to your TV for instant streaming over your internet connection. Not only can you watch Netflix, Hulu, and over 600 other channels, you can also stream RBTV straight to your television. Search for RiverBender on Roku.com to subscribe to our free channel.
Alright, sir, we finished all the services on your car. They'll take it over for your complimentary car wash, and they'll call you when it's ready.
Heart-pounding excitement is what you will find around every corner with the new Polaris Slingshot. It's like surfing pavement. After just one test drive, you will be ready to ditch the sports car, the Harley, or the sports bike and settle into the hottest thing in the street. With a 2.4-liter GM power plant churning out 173 horsepower, you will feel the adrenaline rush of a lifetime. Come on down to Midwest Motorsports on Route 3 in Hartfield, Illinois. We would love to take you for a ride.
Hey, welcome back to We Might Disagree with Brian and John. We got special guest, Pastor Danny Holliday, with us from Victory Baptist Church here in Alton. So we're really getting into this conversation about transgender and what does it mean. And I think what I love about this conversation and dialogue is I think this is what America's talking about. And I don't think any of us are wrong here. I think we all want to do the right thing, but I think there's a confusion on what the law is going to be and why do we even need the law to begin with. So to what I had said earlier, I know because I went to Las Vegas, and I know for a fact that I was in the, because I was talking to her, outside, and she told me she was. So this is back in 2000. So a long time ago. I had no problem with it back then. My concern is opening the door for these younger kids, and then opening the door for a bad element to get in. And John, your point is we have laws already, but well, yeah, but why encourage that bad behavior? And that's that's my concern. And as we're going to, again, the federal government's going to come into my house and tell me it's just like my 15-year-old daughter can't get an aspirin at school, but she can go have an abortion without me being, I mean, they got to call me for an aspirin, but she can go have an abortion. It's that same type of
thinking.
I don't know. I don't have a good word to call it because it's just, it's an insanity way of thinking.
It's the government knows better than you do how to handle your own business.
Yeah.
The safe and non-discriminatory environment from their document. Schools have a responsibility to provide a safe and a non-discriminatory environment for all students, not just transgender. So, yeah. This is the new one. You cannot ignore 99.7% of the people in this all students.
No, you can't.
You're breaking the law. You're breaking all kinds of laws.
What kind of law? Tell me specifically what law.
DCFS reporting laws. If a child if a male goes into a female bathroom, and that female feels that they have been sexually harassed or bullied, that has to be reported.
Yep.
But under this act, it will be ignored for the transgender people, but those people who are not transgender, they will be arrested.
There's nothing in this document that says you will ignore bullying by transgendered people.
But you
read the part of the document that says there's bullying by transgender people.
Look,
it doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't say
okay.
that. But look, but when it
don't
says,
say that it does.
No, look, I didn't. When it
you
says,
did say that.
When it says just all students, you're ignoring the 99.7.
I'm not ignoring any of them.
You're not.
I'm
but
saying,
the document is.
I'm
sir.
saying that you keep the existing laws that protect children
don't,
from unwanted criminal sexual advances.
So, John,
we don't need a new series of laws.
We don't need this.
So then, John,
and it's not a law.
If you're comfortable with the current existing laws,
just drop this.
And that's where I'm at. And if you think transgender people are doing it now, there's no problems. Why do we need this law?
Because it clarifies the existing state that an individual is not governed by their chromosomal makeup, but their gender identity as to which bathroom they can choose.
So do you
Some people, not all people.
Yeah, 0.3%. So do you think that a 14-year-old boy or girl is capable of making that decision?
I think that they can make that decision along with their parents. They're not of the age of majority. And if the parents want to make a certain decision with respect to what bathrooms they can use, I think that's binding on the child. But I do think that people have a right of gender identity, which does not mean that that is the same identity that's on their birth certificate or their chromosomal makeup. I think they have that right. I think it's a matter of a right of conscience, which is at the very fundamental level of human existence, is that people have a right of identity of who they are, both religiously, politically, socially, and even sexually. And no one, not even the government, has the right to say that you have to be considered something other than what you believe.
You say they have a right, but that feeling is not a fact. There are many young children go through stages where they believe they have a friend, an imaginary friend that no one else can see. And so then they pass through a stage and they no longer have that. So just because a person feels that does not make it a fact. So just because a person feels like they're, in fact, transgender, there are so many different gender types, we would have to write a new law every month.
Yeah, they could change it up.
No.
You know
what you're doing, this is reductio de absurdum. What we have here is a very serious situation that people do not take lightly. People don't undergo surgical procedures on their genitalia on a whim.
Well, that's not the point.
We're not talking about
That's not the point.
We're not talking.
That's not even the point.
Yeah, I'm not even talking. Actually, what's the irony in this whole thing is I'm not even talking about the transgender people.
Right.
They're
Me
not,
either.
They're not the problem.
Right. It's our government.
It's the bad people that we're gonna make criminals out of people.
So what you're saying is that a person that identifies as a female, who wears female clothing, dresses with makeup, has long hair, should be going to the men's room. That's what you're saying.
A female.
A person that identifies as female, has long hair,
okay, is
makeup.
She had a sex change?
No, pre-op.
Okay, so why should they go?
I mean, no, they should go into the female bathroom.
But that's not what he's talking about. Well, he's talking about those people.
No. You're trying to mix up things.
I'm not trying to mix things up.
Under this mandate and this law,
I'm talking about equipment, not dress.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking about being naked. I'm talking about being exposed.
If you have the surgery,
don't change the subject.
If you've had the surgery, you go in the bathroom that your parts qualify you for.
No, I'm not arguing about that. What I'm arguing about is I have a person that identifies as female. They're pre-op, so they still have male genitalia. What you're saying is that these people that wear dresses, have long hair, put on makeup, wear perfume, and all outward appearances are female, have to now go to the bathroom in the men's room. That's what you're saying.
Well, if this hadn't started...
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, they're men. They're not a woman. They're a man.
And you think that that's going to be okay?
It's already happening.
No. What's already happening is that people
0.3% of the people
who dress as female, who act as female, who believe they're female, are going to the women's room without incident. That's what's actually happening.
Well, then don't pass this. Forget it.
And again, we're not talking about those people per se.
We're not talking about that.
I'm talking about making
how
a
this
law.
affects the people.
There's a cause and an effect with this law. Okay, there is, and
that's what they ignore.
And they're not. And that's listen. If I'm standing in the bathroom and there's a girl in there in the dress, and she's probably I don't think she would go in there. I think he would go into the female room, right? Which is going to be a closed door. It's not a stand-up situation. There's always a closed door situation, so nobody's going to.
But you two are arguing she doesn't have the right to go to the female bathroom.
I'm saying I don't. It's one of the.
I'm arguing that if she got the wrong equipment, no, she don't belong because she opened up to the bathroom, shower, and it confuses things, man. No, she doesn't have, because if she have a right to do that, little 15-year-old boys have a right to go in the shower with the girls. They have a right to go on the girls' basketball team and show their genitals, and somebody's going to jail.
So what happens? You know, my daughter's in the bathroom, and person dressed like a guy, or a guy goes in there, right, and goes in there, and my daughter's, I mean, she's just not comfortable with it. But this person
How does she know anything about the person?
Well, what if she sees
it? What if she sees it?
Because she's looking? Then she's probably committing a criminal act by intruding upon the seclusion of someone else.
Oh my goodness,
man! I tell you. Where you
You really are a good lawyer.
Where is she? What is she doing? Is she looking underneath?
I don't know. Maybe he's doing something. Maybe, but maybe he's not even that way. Maybe he's just
boys that go to urinals could come and take out his stuff while he's on the way.
Yeah.
And
I've never seen a urinal in a female bathroom.
I have not either.
Yeah,
I think
so. They would go to a stall.
There are people working on it.
That's why I said there's closed doors. You do it. Nobody knows. So why have a law? It's going on now. It's been going on. Why
the reason you have a law is for the reason that I said, which is if you have a person who's pre-op and is female.
But who knows?
It's not a law.
How does somebody know that?
What's that?
How does somebody know that?
And that's the point. Is by outward appearance, nobody knows that person.
So why did the government do this?
Why stir this?
To protect the right of the person to do
the
it.
The transgender people don't have a right.
No, and the reason they did it is because of the North Carolina law.
No, the North Carolina reacted to the federal.
The date of this is May 16th. The North Carolina law came in, and I'm going to look up the date, but it came in months before this.
So what's wrong with the state taking a position on something? What's wrong with that?
That's not an issue that was given to the federal government on gender issues.
So if North Carolina says this is where we stand, what's the problem with that? Why does the federal government got to get involved in that?
Well, because it deals with places of public accommodation. Restrooms are typically parts of that, which is part of interstate commerce, which has historically been regulated by the federal government. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18.
So taxation without representation.
So then let me ask this. Yeah, so there's also a law that you got to have a male and a female bathroom in your business.
Right.
So what I'm saying is I don't have a problem with the state. It's just like, okay, so when Target came out with their position on it, I haven't been to Target since.
That's your right.
Exactly. Right. And that's really, it's just like the smoking law. Okay, smoking. If I'm a business owner and if I own like a restaurant, say I own a restaurant and I want to allow people to smoke in it, that should be my prerogative. You as a consumer should say, hey, you know what? I'm not going in there. Right. I don't want to be around the smoke. Right. I'm as a business owner going to say, you know what, man, I'm not doing any good business because of smoking, so I'm going to make this a non-smoking facility. That's up to the business. The government has no right telling me who can do what in my business. That's right. By the way, cigarettes are not even illegal. They're not even illegal.
What kind of business are we talking about?
Doesn't
are we
matter.
talking about a restaurant?
That makes a difference.
Restaurant, bar, but you can't smoke in bars.
If you're talking about restaurants and bars, they're places of public accommodation, and they're subject. Doesn't matter.
Owned. It does matter. It does. It doesn't matter to the lawyers, but it does matter to the people. Because
you can argue all you want, and you can argue that the law is wrongly decided, but you can't argue what the law is. The law is it's a place of public accommodation that makes it subject to regulation of the Commerce Clause, which gives Congress authority to regulate.
Do we always obey the law?
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You tuned into the game for great sports entertainment, but where do you turn for quality banking services? C&B Bank and Trust, a real community bank, locally owned and reinvesting your deposits right back into the local communities. Take advantage of the full range of products and services that are provided by local people at C&B Bank and Trust. Member FDIC and Illinois' oldest bank, established 1854. Now back to the game.
Roku is a small device that connects to your TV for instant streaming over your internet connection. Not only can you watch Netflix, Hulu, and over 600 other channels, you can also stream RiverTV straight to your television. Search for RiverBender on RoKu.com to subscribe to our free channel.
Come on, guys. We're only up by 1 run. I need some insurance. Let's go.
Put me in, Coach. I can get you some insurance.
AmFam G-Man at the plate. Here's the pitch. Swing and a long one. A home run for AmFam G-Man.
Hit a home run with my team, a winning team. Let me protect your dreams. Call me, Gerard Fisher, 466-7062. Come on, Coach.
American Family Insurance.
All right, sir, we finished all the services on your car. They'll take it over for your complimentary car wash, and they'll call you when it's ready.
And we're back with We Might Disagree. Brian and John here with special guest Pastor Holiday with us. So we were just talking about commerce laws, and I disagree with it, which is shocking. John pulled it up. He's good at it. So John, why don't you read the law to us, or the Constitution?
And that's the point, is that this isn't a law that somebody passed. This is the Constitution from the origin of the country. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 is the Commerce Clause, which reads, the Commerce Clause describes the enumerated power listed. It says, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. And Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 is the necessary or proper clause, which means that Congress has the authority to essentially pass any laws necessary and proper to implement the foregoing Commerce Clause.
Okay, so I still think it's government overreach. I still think it is. Now,
and my point is, you can make that argument, but those arguments, here's the point, Brian, okay, is that we can talk about what the law should be. And if we want to have a conversation what the law should be, that's fine. But let's be clear of what we're talking about. I'm talking about what the law is, not what the law should be. Excuse me, sir. I was very polite in letting you speak.
You want always this much time.
Sir, if you'd be quiet and let me finish, I'd be happy to give you the same respect.
You don't have to be quiet. I understand.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, continue reading.
My point is that these questions about whether the federal government has the power to regulate a particular bar that's privately held has been litigated in the 70s, and these questions have been resolved. Now, if you want to go back and relitigate these questions, we live in a free society, and you can certainly do that. But if you're asking a lawyer, and part of being a lawyer is knowing what the law is, not what you think it is, not what you think it should be.
That's why I asked you to read it.
Right.
So I got a part on it, but Pastor, you had something to say.
I had something, but let me read the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That's why some folks feel the federal government should stay out of education.
Well, I think what happened
what you just said.
Now you're jumping in.
Are you finished?
No, I'm not finished.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not finished. Now.
Tell me when you're finished.
Talking about the restroom. I will.
Something.
Okay, here's an article off the internet. Now 23 states have sued Obama administration over transgender bathroom mandate. You talked about showers. Washington, D.C., July the 8th, 2016, on Friday, an additional 10 states filed a legal brief against the Obama administration's controversial transgender guidance requiring public schools to allow members of one sex to use showers.
Did it say showers?
Showers, overnight accommodations, and restrooms of the opposite biological sex or lose federal funds. Taxation without showers are included, so that's crazy.
And I don't disagree with you on showers.
Okay, but
I want to respond to your reading of the Constitution because, sir, with all due respect, you didn't understand what you read. It says expressly, those powers not given to the federal government. I just read to you Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, which is an express giving of the commerce power to regulate commerce, interstate commerce, is given to the federal government.
I was not referring to commerce.
I think that article is an example of what I'm talking about with this law. It just shows you
about commerce.
Well, but the commerce in here, what they're talking about, again, it opens the door for them to do something.
But it's foolishness.
Yeah, and so again, when we pass this type of a mandate, the same thing is going to happen.
I do think that we need to talk about what Title IX does, okay? Title IX is not a mandate. What Title IX does say, however, is that if you choose to ignore the requirements of Title IX, you can lose federal funding for education. But it can't mandate that the states do anything.
Well, it's...
Now, there are other provisions that might, in terms of constitutional provisions and interpretation and case law.
It's called a mandate.
Well, but my point is, though, is again, it's...
Or lose federal funding is what you read.
Right. So, smoking was cool up until 1990, and then they changed the law.
Smoking was never cool. People thought it was
every
cool.
movie was cool. So what I'm saying is, again, it's
people have a right.
Yeah, and I think that's where I struggle with it. Is again, I think
you don't have a right to smoke.
They do. This is America.
No,
you do, and that's
in the privacy of your own home, sure, but in a public place, absolutely not.
Well, define a public place.
A public place is a place of public accommodation.
But you make a decision as a consumer to go there or not.
And you are entitled to try to relitigate established law.
No, I'm not going to get into that because I'm just saying I don't smoke. It doesn't bother me. I'm just saying for me, it's
Let's get back to transgender stuff. He's want to redirect, get us away from the issue.
But it is tied into transgender because it's overreach again. Yeah. And that's how we got to this point. It's overreach. So, okay, so if you want to do something for transgender, and why go towards schools, elementary schools? If you can't give a 13-year-old daughter, my daughter, an aspirin without calling me first, but yet you're going to just take the word of my 13-year-old daughter that all of a sudden she wants to be a boy. And by the way, I don't have a 13-year-old daughter anymore. She doesn't want to be a boy. But I mean, I don't understand how you could possibly argue that.
As I read the directive, it requires I think it requires the parents and the child to make a decision.
No,
but even
that's
the
not what it says. It says R. It's an R.
I don't
in
see. See, to me, and here's what's funny. This is
but if the parents make a decision contrary to the child,
I can
a child
say
under the age of 18 is not under the age of majority.
So I can say my kid, I screwed up and I was supposed to have a girl, so he's gonna be a girl, but I spanked my kid. I got DFS in my house trying to take my child for disciplinary. You're not saying
I'm not even following your argument. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it does too, because I think that a parent doesn't. If a kid wants to change their sexual position to either a man or a woman,
that should be up to them.
That should be up to them when they're of age, and that of age is 18 years old, and nothing should intervene for that. And I think when you get into elementary schools, you're opening the door for all kinds of problems that just don't need to be. It's just opening the door for so much. Yes. I mean, it's just
and it's unnecessary.
We got enough problems in our schools. We don't need any more. Why add another one? You know what I mean? And I think, I'm not trying to speak for passion, but I think that's kind of where he's coming from with it. And I don't know. I mean, I think as a teenager, I remember you feel a lot of things. I mean, you go through a lot of different things. I mean, there's a lot of emotions flowing. I mean, some. It's whether you. I don't know. I'm 100% with you on this one, Pastor. I don't understand it, John. I knew where you were with it. I just don't get how you can. I want to understand it. I try to. John's good at explaining things. He's made me think some different things, but this is just
doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. It does.
What it does is it carves a safe space
for 0.3%. What about the 99.7?
Sir, you're talking about situations that are criminal already in terms of someone exposing.
No, I'm talking about you're setting up real people for real problems by doing this, man. You can't overlook it.
So you think that a 15-year-old girl comes home from school and she says, "Yeah, some little boy's in the shower with me after PE class or after volleyball." You don't think?
Again, I told you I'm with you on showers.
You don't think?
I don't think it should apply to showers.
But okay,
and frankly, I think
okay. Let me take it different. In the bathroom, 15-year-old boy's in the bathroom. He sees the girl. He says identifies as as a female. He's in there. What do you think some of these dads are going to do?
And doing what?
By having this kid in the bathroom with their daughter.
But what is he doing?
They don't care.
Is he going to the bathroom?
Yeah, maybe he's going to the bathroom. Maybe he's standing.
If he's going to the bathroom, then who cares?
Maybe he's got his.
Now, if he's walking around with his genitalia hanging out, that's a criminal act.
No, he can do that.
If he's in the bathroom with the wrong equipment,
he's in the bathroom. He can walk around with his pants down if he wants.
No,
yes, he can.
I've done it.
And in the girls' bathroom?
I don't go in girls' bathroom.
Well, why you specifying girls? It's
because
wrong.
Yeah, what about female in a boy's bathroom? I mean, I just think you're opening the door.
Do you think that a female's going to try to use a urinal?
They have sit-down toilets in the
That's the
bathroom.
point. Yes, they're going to go into a stall.
What if that female is not really transgender and she's using that as an excuse to get in there with that boy?
To do what?
To be harmed.
Okay, what if...
And then that is criminal. We don't need any
But why set them up for that? That's what you're doing.
Because if you're a pedophile or you're a criminal person, you're going to do it anyway.
We're not talking about pedophiles. A teenager could say, hey, John, let's say we feel like we're a girl. They go hook up with a girl. and then they get caught, they get trouble, she hollers rape. It doesn't make sense.
It could be that too. You could set the boy up for rape. I mean, it could be that. There's just so many doors that you could go down here that are just so bad.
I don't know what you guys be thinking
Transgender people
We're
do
not talking about
go out of their way.
We're not talking about
I know,
transgender
and my
people.
point is that people who are not transgender, who want to impersonate transgender people, commit criminal acts, and there's nothing that a law is going to do to stop it.
This is written poorly.
Yes, it is.
And you're an attorney. You should know that.
Yes, it is.
It opens the door to too many stuff, too much stuff.
You know it's going to encourage bad behavior.
But you can't say too much because of the politics of it. Nobody wants to say anything.
I think,
That's how most people are. Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
They're afraid to speak out on this issue because they're afraid they're going to lose some votes.
Yeah, they're going to get
both sides of the aisle.
It's on both sides. And I think a push forward is to kind of get some more votes. And I think it kind of backfired. And maybe your theory is correct that Obama got involved in it or Justice Department got involved in it because of North Carolina. And that may be, again, and if it's constitutionally okay for them to do that, then so be it. But I think, too, this is something that you should really listen to the people. I think when you're talking about 0.3% of the population, and I still go back to the kids.
We do not
why
put our rights up to vote. You either have rights secured by the Constitution.
I understand that.
Or you don't.
I understand.
But we don't have a plebiscite to decide whether or not.
99.7% won't have a right with this stuff.
That's ridiculous.
No,
people
it is
will continue
ridiculous.
to use the bathroom. People are using the bathrooms now with transgender people without it. They're going to continue.
So why
to use
it alone?
So why mess with it?
Because of the North Carolina law. How are you going to enforce the North Carolina law? You're going to allow the police to strip somebody to see what their genitalia is?
You're going somewhere you don't need to go. The issue is they took a stance of what they believe was right for them.
Yeah, I think.
And then the government came against them. Said,
How
no,
are you
I'm
going to enforce the North Carolina law? Explain that to me. How would the police enforce North Carolina's law?
There would be no enforcement.
Let them do it.
But
you're opening the door.
Then what's the purpose of the law if you're not going to enforce it?
I would say if somebody discovered that they were in the bathroom with a transgender person, and if they were
that would be
uncomfortable
reported.
That would be reported, and that's how it'd be handled. And that's how it should be handled.
But then let's take it to its logical extension. Okay, that person's going to report it. They're going to report it to whom? To the police.
To the police.
The police are going to come to the scene. Then what are they going to do? The person's done going to the bathroom. What are you going to do? Authorize a strip search?
Well, I don't know.
To ensure whether the person...
If necessary, because of what we're dealing with.
You don't have a right to make somebody submit to a strip search.
Well, you don't have a right to look at somebody buck naked in opposite sex bathroom.
And I'm not saying you do.
Okay.
I'm not saying you do.
Well,
and I think if you're starting to look at people and trying to look at people's genitalia, you've committed a criminal act in the bathroom. We have laws on the books already that take care of that.
No, we don't.
My point is that these laws that are cropping up, and Illinois is trying to pass one, I think that that we're going down the wrong road, because when you start talking about having to try to enforce it, it's absurd.
I agree. So what I would
don't
say,
do it.
Here's a simple, easy
throw it out
fix.
the window.
I know common sense doesn't work well anymore, but I would say, why don't you put in, if it's because it's commerce, a transgender neutral bathroom?
I agree. I think that's
let the transgender people pay for it. Why should other folk have to pay for it?
No, I'm not even. I mean, it should be up to the store. I mean, listen, it's going to come out of the.
You're going to hurt business people. You're going to hurt the little small business people.
You are, but
so that's a factor.
But you got to. I mean,
they said the same thing about the Americans with Disabilities Act. You're going to put people out of business.
I don't think it did.
And it didn't.
I don't think adding a second bathroom or a third bathroom would put. I mean, I did home remodel for years. It's going to be a few $1,000s. It's not,
but the problem is,
or you could just have no bathrooms.
The problem is we're broke now. We're broke now as a nation. So why couldn't they keep doing what they've been doing, since they say it was no problem, and then it wouldn't cost anybody the money? They want us not to say we disagree with them. They have a right. They have a right to do what they're doing. You don't hear me pushing religion on this. No. They have a right in the privacy of their home or wherever they are to do what they want to do. But they do not have a right to push their selves on other folk.
And especially
they don't have a right.
Especially in schools.
That's right. That's bullying.
I think you put a transgender bathroom in, or neutral gender bathroom
Sexual
in.
harassment.
Transgender people are not out bullying people.
I didn't say that. But this regulation does.
This regulation is going to create.
Regulation does not bully anybody.
Yes, it does. It sets people up to be bullied per DCFS and per DOJ and DOE paperwork mandates.
We should do some more studies. before we pass these laws.
Right. But they said people came to them with all these questions, and so that's why they're doing it. But
the people that are being bullied, if we want to talk about reality, are transgendered people.
They are now.
Yes.
They are now.
Why are they being bullied? If they're not being bullied, people are just pushing it back against the mandate.
You don't think that transgendered people aren't being bullied?
I don't.
You got to be kidding me.
I think
everybody has been bullied. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is they don't deserve a right to go into those bathrooms, man.
Yeah,
it's not an issue of who's being bullied. You deal with it.
You're saying that they're not being bullied
because someone disagrees with them going into the bathroom that they imagine that they should be in.
Yeah, I think I would say there's probably some being bullied. I think some of them are probably more terrified. The conversations that I've heard and been a part of, they're more concerned now than they've ever been. And I don't know if people you spoke. I have a friend, so I mean it's unfortunate. They didn't want this spotlight. They didn't ask for it. They're not happy about it. They don't want the law changed. They don't want nothing to do with it.
99%.
No, they don't want nothing to do with it. And I think now you've got your crazy loons like you've always got. Now they're out looking for it, and they're going to act on that. And it just opened up a door that I don't think needed to be opened. I get North Carolina made that law. So be it. How they enforce it, I don't think it was ever meant to be enforced. I think it was to put it on the books and have it there.
They took a stand against the government.
Yeah, and that's all.
Because we've been going in this direction.
We have been going. I mean, you could see it coming.
We've been going in this direction.
Obama's been pushing it. I mean, it's been his agenda.
And North Carolina stood up.
Yeah.
So
let's go to commercial real quick. Ready to go to commercial, Mr. Producer? All right, we'll be right back. We might disagree.
You walk onto this campus, and it feels as though you're at an Ivy League institution.
It is cultured in so many ways. You would never know that it is a 2-year college.
This place is truly amazing. I love going to school here.
It is definitely not like any other community college.
If you're looking for a way for your life to change, then Lewis & Clark is the place for you to be.
Whether you're planning for home improvement projects, family vacations, college tuition, or consolidating credit card debt, use your home for what you need. At First Mid-America Credit Union, they offer home equity loans and lines of credit that can lower your costs. For more information, visit www.1stmidamerica.org or call 618-258-3168 to speak to a First Mid-America Credit Union representative.
Heart-pounding excitement is what you will find around every corner with the new Polaris Slingshot. It's like surfing pavement. After just one test drive, you will be ready to ditch the sports car, the Harley, or the sports bike and settle into the hottest thing in the street. With a 2.4-liter GM power plant churning out 173 horsepower, you will feel the adrenaline rush of a lifetime. Come on down to Midwest Motorsports on Route 3 in Hartwell, Illinois. We would love to take you for a ride.
Roper's Regal Beagle, located on Godfrey Road, is the Metro East premier sports bar and grill. Open Sunday through Thursday till 2 a.m. and Fridays and Saturdays till 3 a.m. At Roper's Regal Beagle, you will enjoy some of the area's best pizza from their wood-fired pizza oven. There's also a full kitchen offering a huge variety, as well as a soup and salad bar. Sports fans, Roper's Regal Beagle is the place to watch the game. 27 TVs, NFL ticket, Big Ten, Pac-12, and streaming local high school sports.
Welcome back to We Might Disagree. Brian and John here with special guest Pastor Holliday from Victory Baptist Church here in Alton. So it's been an interesting discussion. One of the things I love about John, he does bring the law to it. And we got to consider the law, and we all know the laws. Well, I guess we don't all know. I guess some of us may think it's been overreached. Other of us may disagree and want me to relitigate it, which we all know will never happen.
It can happen. It does happen. And they revisit laws all the time. The Second Amendment was considered by most people during most of the modern year to be, quote, literally they described it as a dead letter. They thought it referred solely to, soldiers in a militia. And they never considered it as the right of an individual. Now, obviously, times change, and the Scalia court decided that they would imbue more life into that Second Amendment, which is the right of the court to do that. That they're charged with being the primary branch to interpret the Constitution. I can argue whether they went too far or not far enough or whatever, but that's our system. And so we have a system of laws. And I think it's important that, one of the mistakes that people make when they talk about constitutional issues is they think that people have the right to have a vote or right of public say about individual rights, and they don't. And that's a misconception, a very popular misconception. To the extent that we're not talking about constitutional rights, absolutely. You have a right to have your elected representatives pass laws. Those laws, if they go too far, can be challenged in courts, and that's what lawyers do. So, but it makes my skin bristle when I hear people say, well, that isn't what the people want. Well, a lot of what people do is very unpopular. I mean, the rights of criminal defendants, they're not popular, but they're rights. And so that's the bedrock of our Constitution. That's the bedrock of our society.
I don't think anybody in here is talking about rights of transgender people. And again, we're talking about transgender, and that's not the issue for me. It's the kids. It's allowing. So when you go into commerce, and you go into that Target, and you've got my kid in there, I mean, it's the wrong thing to do. I mean, there's at some point common sense has to set in. I applaud North Carolina for taking a stance on it. I think it took guts. I don't believe it would be enforced. And I think to your point, how would you enforce it? Well, I don't think it was ever intended to be enforced. I think it was just to set a statement. This is where we are in this position. I would be the first person to stand with a transgender person if they were being discriminated against. I'd be the first person to stand next to them. I would never, ever, ever allow that. Every human being is entitled to rights. But, man, my kids are entitled to rights too.
That's right.
And when you're going to enforce this situation and put my kids in a bad situation, now you got a problem with Brian Belchick. And that's a problem you really don't want.
Now, there's no evidence that transgender people have been putting your children at risk.
Okay, they're not. It's that little punk that wants to think he's transgender because he's got some misguided parents because, they've watched, MSNBC too long and they think, hey, you know what, I kind of think I'm a girl, and he goes into that bathroom and
does what? Goes to the bathroom. If he goes to the bathroom, he's not being a problem.
But what if he doesn't go to the bathroom?
Then he's committed a criminal act.
Why did you give him that door to go through and affect my daughter?
Do you think that the law is going to stop him if he wants to go through?
Yes.
Well, that means don't write it. Look, let me speak. You have a chance.
Go ahead.
Look, dealing with the issue of discrimination, discrimination, there's two main definitions. The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. The second definition, recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another, discrimination between right and wrong. We teach our children to go to school, don't hang with the wrong people, and so forth. That's a form of discrimination. But when you're looking at right and wrong, that's not a negative thing. And as far as the transgenders do not have a right under the 14th Amendment to have a right to go into bathrooms, and they have the wrong equipment. But the Supreme Court was incorrect on the marriage decision. They do not have a right to define what marriage is. They don't have a right under the Constitution. Every constitution of every state in the nation recommended speaks to Almighty God. And so there is a separation of church and state. And the state had no right. The Supreme Court was wrong on slavery. It was corrected. The Supreme Court was wrong on the murdering of babies in the womb. They redefined the baby, said a baby was just a blob or some tissue. We don't know when a child becomes a child, but we know when a bald eagle becomes legal. You destroy an eagle, a bald eagle.
Yeah.
And you going to jail or you're being fined. They changed the definition of things to make it convenient to their political perspective.
So you think that Loving versus Virginia was correctly decided?
Well, you trying to be lawyer on me, Sid. I'm not a lawyer.
Loving versus Virginia is the case.
You talking about the black-white?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
Let me just explain for our audience. Yeah, Loving versus Virginia was a U.S. Supreme Court case where the state of Virginia said that a white person and a black person could not marry. It was challenged, and the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Virginia's law prohibiting blacks and whites from marrying was unconstitutional. So you're saying that was wrongly decided?
No, they should be. Blacks and whites should be able to marry, but you got to go back in the history. The whole
So now
country.
let me ask you.
No, you're a lawyer. No, let me explain myself.
Go ahead.
No, let me explain myself. Look.
Go ahead.
Look, it was wrong for any black to marry any white because they were considered inhuman. They were considered property. That's why blacks and whites couldn't get married. Yeah, so it's not a discrimination
in 1959?
Look, going back to 18. Well, look,
I'm talking about Loving versus Virginia.
I know, but going back from the 1800s when the civil rights. Yeah, you know, it comes up to the 50s and 60s about discrimination and race, but it originated from something. It originated from the time of slavery.
So you're saying that the U.S. Supreme Court had the authority in Loving versus Virginia to strike down the Virginia state law that said black and white people.
No, I'm not saying that. You brought that up. I'm not saying that.
You're saying that they don't have the authority to strike down that law?
He's setting precedent for the laws. What he's doing. So what he's saying. Okay, so I'll step in. I
know where you're going. I know he's trying to set me up, but no.
So again, you're talking about a man and a woman.
Right. You're not talking about.
So, and that's where he's talking about man and man, woman and woman. So,
but either the court has the authority to address questions of marriage or they don't.
Well,
they did in Loving versus Virginia.
They did, but
they did because it was the Equal Protection Clause.
So in man and man, so with
male and female,
yeah, they changed the narrative to make gay marriage legal. Listen,
they use that to get support.
And here's the thing, you know.
No. Let's stop here. Stop for a minute. Okay, either the U.S. Supreme Court has the authority to address a state statute that prohibits certain folks from getting married, or they don't. They had the power in Loving versus Virginia under the Equal Protection Clause.
Listen, they had it between a man and a woman.
Right.
They had it between a man and a man and a woman and a woman.
That's right.
Listen, and
I understand. I'm not saying that Loving versus Virginia wasn't. This is how the law progresses.
And that's how they used it to soften people up to make them feel guilty. No.
No,
you said that the state has the power to say who can get married in the U.S. Supreme Court.
I did not say. I said.
So now you're backtracking.
No, I'm not backtracking. You're a lawyer, but look, I said God was the one who who defined marriage, not the state. Before the state of Illinois existed, before the United States existed, marriage existed, and it was one man and one woman established by God, not by a state, not by a nation.
Then why do we go to the state to get a marriage license?
Because they want money.
Right, for money and control and documentation.
But it certainly has some significance for the state. The state recognizes marriage. So you're saying that the state has no authority with respect to marriage?
I think what I'd say is I think they, a traditional marriage between a man and a woman. And I think, so...
The state recognized that because for the benefit of society.
I would say this. This is what I would say. And I'm going to go completely on record on this. So I have no problem with gay marriage, okay?
I do.
Well, hang on. Let me finish, okay? So
I'm just going
now, because if it gets performed in a church, I would not attend that church, okay?
You don't have to.
Exactly. I don't have to, and I'm not a bad person for it. What I will tell you is this, is I think that in our country, given the situation with our country, that when two women or two men are in love with each other, and I believe that love is real, I've witnessed it, and I have some great friends and relatives that are gay, and it's very real love. It's they need, just for the legalities, they needed something to bind those two legally together, okay? Now, I know that my marriage to my wife has been blessed by God. And that's more important to me than any license the state of Illinois gave me. And that's why I don't have a whole big issue with gay marriage. I really don't care either way.
Let me say, the issue with gay marriage...
It just doesn't matter to me.
The issue with gay marriage is how it affected people who didn't go along with it. See, we were lied to and said it wouldn't affect us. Ask the Catholic Church in Illinois. They don't do adoptions anymore because of the gay marriage legislation. They no longer perform, the adoption because they didn't want to give it out. So it's not just gay marriage, it's what comes with it. They don't want you to speak out against it. Pastors don't have to perform gay marriages, but there are some cases where they will have to allow them in their churches under certain conditions, but
Well, I think gay people should go. I mean, I would encourage them to go to church, and that's what I say.
They should go to church.
And honestly, gay people, I've got some gay friends that I just adore, and I'd rather be around them more than some of my straight friends. To be honest with you, I've
met some of your friends, and I would agree.
Yeah, I have no problem with gay people.
I don't either.
And I would welcome them into my church any day. The marriage thing is for me is between a man and woman. And that's just where I'm at with it.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad
but
thing.
some people lose their jobs for their opinion.
Yeah, and you should.
On this subject.
It depends on how they express their opinions.
Yeah, if they just say, I disagree, and they work for the government, and they lose their job.
Yeah,
it happens.
I mean, does it happen? Sure. Is it illegal? Yeah, absolutely, it's illegal.
Back to the transgender thing, and I think where we're all getting, again, and I think you're using the right word, the progression of the law. I wish we could use that narrative with the Second Amendment so I could have my tank, right? We can progress that one then too, right? And that's the thing. No, because common sense, I don't need a tank. Okay, I don't need a tank.
You don't need an automatic weapon either.
I don't have one.
But then again,
no, but I'm just saying you don't need one.
But the issue is with ISIS and the problems in this world, Americans are unsettled. They're concerned. If all these people are coming into here creating chaos, then some Americans feel like they need a weapon.
Well, and I think there's plenty of automatic weapons out there if you want to get one. I don't think that there's any law that's going to stop it. We know that, and we've proved that. So, and that's where I'm at with this whole transgender. It's nothing to do with transgender people whatsoever. It's nothing to do with them at all.
It's the paperwork.
It's bingo.
It's the paperwork.
It's the government overreaching and getting into something they shouldn't be getting into. If a state wants to get into it, then a state can get into it, and then I can choose not to go to that state. The NBA pulled their basketball All-Star game for it. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's how it's
supposed to work. Not the government saying we know what's best for you in every case. That's what they're doing.
But we're talking about Title IX. We're talking about federal funds.
We're talking about everything.
If you believe that the state should do their bathrooms in the way that you described, don't take the federal money. That's the point. That's the only leverage the federal government has.
But that's wrong.
Under
They were wrong to do it.
So here's the thing.
They were wrong because they know the people were going to take the money.
How is a public school? We've talked about schools on here a lot. Yeah. We talk a lot about schools and how they get financed and they need federal money. How is a school in North County going to be able to afford to not get federal money?
Taxation without representation.
They're going to have to come up with some other means. If this is an intrinsic part of their identity as a state, they'll have to come up with the means. Otherwise, nobody's making them take the money.
They need to get the government out of it. Get the federal government out of it.
But you're taking the money.
Let me ask you this.
So the government's saying, if you're going to take our money, you're going to play by our rules.
But it's not their money.
No, it's not. The government doesn't have any money. They take money from the people and give it back to them with strings attached. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's my money. How do they get?
They didn't earn any money.
That's what I mean.
They just took it.
And that's where this can go.
It's not your money; it's our money, and that's the difference. And everybody says, "Oh, but I don't want to support the military, or I don't want to do drug enforcement, or I don't want to do this." You don't get to selectively choose which federal programs that you support.
I don't know who thinks like that myself.
Well, it's just an overreach. It's just a growing of government, and that's just what it is. It's just another step. It's another, I've always said, I'm going to say this. I wish that churches would start paying taxes, because then they could just, say goodbye to all the little nonsense that they have to deal with. I would love that. And, the problem with that is not all churches can afford to do that.
Right.
And, and that would put a lot of churches out. So you can't do that. So, and I get
that. I have mixed feelings about it, because churches do a lot of good also.
They do. Well, I think the government's pushed them out of good.
Right.
People go to the government now for help instead of the church.
Well, the mistaken belief of conservatives is they think that private organizations have the wherewithal to take care of all the people that need taken care of, and that's not true.
Well, that's not. I'm a conservative. That's not a problem I have.
I don't think that way either. I don't think that way either. I think that giving back to your community as a business, I think being a part of your community, reaching out, helping people, things like you. I've watched you do a lot of things. That's where it should come from. I don't think there's a place for government for handouts. I think if somebody is struggling, the government should come in and help. I have no problem with that. Unemployment, we extended unemployment 2 years. That's crazy.
But when they tamper with the economy, and then people don't get jobs because of things like climate change and so forth, like coal mines being shut down because I feel like they pollute too much. Yeah. But somebody can produce coal somewhere else. The people had no say-so again in that.
It's costing their jobs. Yeah, it's listen, we're at that time, so we're gonna cut it. I think it's been a great show. Pastor, I'd love to have you back on again.
Thank you.
I think
love to come back. There are other issues.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to other stuff too, and we'll try to get a better debate. Maybe get the other side in here. And again, we tried to do that, and we had short notice. We had short notice.
Well, I just wanted you to know, and anyone else to know, I'm open because in a civilized society, that's how you settle things, by discussion.
Yeah. Sure.
Then that way, people aren't as intimidated.
Normally, and just for the record, for all of our viewers out there, we would never do a subject like. I knew that John would be the opposing to you, so that's why I was okay with, and John was okay with bringing you on, because I knew you. I knew you had an opponent. Yeah. We don't want one voice on here,
Right. So, well, that's why I suggested you bring.
But I knew you had your hands full with John, so and you did fine. You did fine. Listen, I just knew there would be.
I think you did a fantastic job.
I think it just is an opposition, and we want to have a conversation.
Well, this is the American way. This is why I love this country. This country is not perfect, but I love it. I put my life at risk for this country, and if I'm willing to do that for my country, I'm going to stand up for my grandchildren who will have to deal with this mandate if it comes through. And again, it's insanity. And it's not about the transgender people. It's about the mandate.
Yeah, it is. And I think we can, John, as always, I'll give you the last word, sir.
I think it is about the transgender people. I really do. And what I would ask people is to search your heart and to search your soul, that there are people in this world that are incredibly different than you, that you can't understand who they are and what their makeup is, but they have a right to function in society the same way that you and I do. And I think that this whole thing is about trying to fix problems that don't exist. I agree the federal government probably made a flashpoint out of it that probably didn't need to happen. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans, we all have rights, and then you should, not just consider your own rights, but also reflect upon the rights that other people have. And I think if you do that, we go a long way to trying to get these problems resolved.
I think we can all three agree on that. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.
Thank you.
You tuned into the game for great sports entertainment, but where do you turn for quality banking services? C&B Bank and Trust, a real community bank, locally owned and reinvesting your deposits right back into the local communities. Take advantage of the full range of products and services that are provided by local people at C&B Bank and Trust. Member FDIC and Illinois' oldest bank, established 1854. Now back to the game.
Come on, guys. We're only up by 1 run. I need some insurance. Let's go.
Put me in, Coach. I can get you some insurance.
And Fam G-Man at the plate.